I'm looking at some of the highlights of the game, but this catch by Julian Edelman, I mean, it's just ridiculous. I'm gonna freeze frame it right there. I mean, that catch by Edelman right there, that was ridiculous. Uh, I'm just gonna let some of this play in the background. But I really wanted to talk about Tom Brady retiring. I'm not sure if he has or not, but I said that he was either going to retire this year or next year. But I'm gonna say something. If he retires, I'm gonna say this. Remember last year when the Broncos won the Super Bowl? I think that was last year, right? When they won the Super Bowl, immediately the Broncos quarterback uh, retired. Right now, he retired for a few reasons. One, because of his injury, uh, and another one, Peyton Manning. One because of his injuries, and another one because, and when I say injury, I mean the injury he got when he was in the Colts game. I think he got that in the Super Bowl. Anyways, he got hit so hard it uh, severed, or I don't know if it severed some nerves or whatever it did. It was a terrible injury, and he could have lost his. Uh, he could have been paralyzed from the neck down forever. But he came back, and he found out real quick that there's no love in the NFL, and they got rid of him. And when they got rid of him, they were just showing a touchdown by James White. So, nonetheless, so when he was playing for the Colts, Peyton Manning, they got rid of him. He found out that, because he was a franchise quarterback, he brought them back from nothing. And then they got rid of him. They were just like, get out of here. You're injured. You're no good anymore. And it was not a good thing for them to do. And of course, he went to the Broncos. When he went to the Broncos, he got himself a couple rings out of that. But nonetheless, when his career was over, and they pretty much Cam Newton threw the game for him when he didn't pick up the ball, and he got Peyton Manning. He retired quickly after that. It was a big whoop de doo. It was like a very teary eyed and emotional thing, and it was a big whoop de doo because Peyton Manning was probably one of the greatest generals as far as quarterbacks is concerned. The man was still throwing the ball at nearly 30 miles an hour, and he was like 41. I mean, he was just ridiculous. But it was his ability to see the field in a way, in a very commanding way. Like he told uh, uh, one of the newbies on his team, uh, who was running a route in practice, and Peyton was like, "Yo, why didn't you do what I told you to?" He said, "Because the route didn't say do that." He said, "Listen, if I tell you it's Christmas, then it's Christmas." And the dude looked at him and he said, "Okay." And that was it. Because that's who Peyton Manning was. Peyton Manning, when he came to the Colts, he took over the Colts. It wasn't like they needed a coaching staff to help. It was like you needed Peyton Manning. He was the coach and the quarterback. Like there's nobody else in the game right now who I know who does that, who has a reputation for doing that. Not even Tom with all his greatness. So what I'm saying is it was the end of an era when Peyton Manning sat down and gave it up. They gave him that last Super Bowl. It was the end of an era. And one of the reasons why they gave it to him is because he got stomped, what is it, year before that or 2 years before that, by Seattle, 48 to whatever, like 7. So, and when they interviewed him, they was like, "You think your guys gave up?" And he was, Peyton Manning was just like, "Yo, I'm not even gonna say that." He was like one of the best there was when it came to the media too. He was such a gentleman and everything. So, you will never see the like of him. I don't think in a long time because there's nobody out there who can do what he can do. And even off the field, Peyton Manning was just that deal. Point blank. That's it. So, nonetheless, even though his brother has two Super Bowl rings, he'll never be like his older brother. So it was the end of an era. What I'm getting to is now you're looking at another end of an era. Looking at all these young quarterbacks coming in, like the one from Dallas Cowboys, and how he, you know, is a threat. Now, him and his running back, I mean, they're just ridiculous. They're a serious threat, over there in Dallas now. And I wouldn't have any hard feelings that they didn't go to the big one this time because, I mean, now that they've sat down Tony Romo, they're just a threat, period. When Ezekiel Elliott hits the field, it's gonna be a threat from here for the next 5 years, and that's just that. If that boy stays healthy for the next 5 years, Ezekiel Elliott is gonna be a threat. Like LaDainian Thomason, I think his name was. I mean, he was ridiculous. Or even that running back they got now from over there, the not the Broncos, the freak, uh, the guy who got in trouble for beating his kid. Oh my God, I forgot his name. But anyways, he's ridiculous. The Vikings running back, I think. But what I'm saying is, it's the end of an era. And the old heads, it's time for them to sit down. The Russell Wilsons are stepping up to the game. He's already got one. He could have got two. But they blew that game on purpose. Let's talk about that Seattle game. Legion of Boom terrorizing people on the field. Terrorized the hell out of the Broncos the year before. They didn't even want to play. The coach had to ask the Broncos offensive players did they even want to play anymore because they didn't want to catch the ball. He asked the wide receivers, "Do you guys even want to play?" Because they didn't want to catch the ball anymore. So let's get this straight. They were beating those guys up. Uh, Basically, Richard Sherman, just a stellar, outspoken guy to me. One of the best in the game, point blank. I think he's better than Darrelle Revis right now because Darrelle Revis is getting older. He's still good though. Nonetheless, what I'm saying is the game was thrown to me, and all the quarter when Russell Wilson threw that ball, I believe he knew who he was throwing it to. That guy that he threw it to was like some third stringer. You know what I'm saying? From the Patriots. Some third stringer out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And instead of giving it to Marshawn Lynch, everybody knows the story. This is the reason why Marshawn Lynch was like, I'm done. Because I know this is bullcrap. And I got a ring. I'm happy. And you see Marshawn Lynch right now. He's real happy. He can come back to the NFL if he wants to, and probably get back on the same squad and get a ring. That's how dope Marshawn Lynch is. But nonetheless, he knew it was some bullcrap. It's like, why didn't you get a ball to me? It's the same thing that happened to Ezekiel Elliott this year. Why you only give me the ball 22 times instead of the 30, 35 times you used to give him it? You've been giving it to me all year. 30, 35 times, and I've been turning up. Why would you not? You know what I mean? Stuff like that just makes you think, like, why would you not go with the same game plan? You know what I mean? You're going to get to the major game, the one that counts, and not go with the same game plan. That just tells me how fixed the game is. Because it's like, come on, man. Like, come on, Cam Newton. You can't pick up the ball. Like, come on, man. Let's get out of here. So, it's the end. It's all set up so Brady could win. But I think Brady is going to go ahead and retire because I think it's the end of an era. I don't think any other quarterback out there right now who's even close to 40 is a star. And you guys can correct me on that. I'm not an Atlanta fan, even though I have on the colors. Like, I don't think anybody out there is a star that's ending an era. If you look at all the dynamite quarterbacks out there. You look at the Drew Brees, he might be in there somewhere. He's already got a ring, doesn't he? He got a ring after what 2006. After they got hit with that flood and the hurricane Katrina in '05, they came back and rebuilt the stadium, went all the way, but that was it. So as far as elite quarterbacks, Drew Brees is one, but he they haven't been doing too much. But nonetheless, that's when they had Reggie Bush and then they traded him. But nonetheless, um, what I'm saying is the end of an era for these quarterbacks. And if you look at the rhythm of things, they do the same thing in the NFL that they do in the NBA. When you, a lot of these old heads leave, they give them a certain amount. They give them a purse, basically. They give them 5 million or so to leave. You had a couple people retire this year, you know, and they bid them farewell to the game. They give them money. They don't necessarily give them a championship, but they give them a large purse and they give them some whoop de doo, and then they bid them out. But if you notice in the NFL, you have a lot of old heads who leave, but when they leave, they make sure they leave at the top of the game. See, Tom Brady can continue to play. There's nothing wrong with him. But if he quits now, he quits on top of the game. If he comes back next year and loses, even if he loses in the Super Bowl, you still lost. I mean, you still did not have a season where you went all the way. So right now you can win in its greatness. It's just that's the way. That's kind of the way they want it. Is what I'm saying. What I think is Tom Brady might not have a choice because he's not pulling the strings. He's not. Even Bill Belichick is not pulling the strings. The owner is not even pulling the strings. They got people telling them what to do. And I'm telling you right now that I think Tom Brady is going to go ahead and retire on top of the game. I made a couple other videos saying that if he doesn't retire now, it'll be in a couple of years. But now that I'm really looking at it, I don't mind being wrong. I really don't mind because I don't watch any of the games. It's a guessing game to me, but what I do is I start following the revenue. And this is why I'm able to get a lot of my predictions right because I start looking at the money. I start looking at who's the poster boy and what they're doing with them. You know what I mean? Who's the poster boy for what? You know what I'm saying? How can they use a J.J. Watt? You know what I mean? How long can they use them? You know what I mean? So that type of thing. Um, yeah. How long can they use Julio Jones? Where's he gonna go to next after Atlanta? Is he gonna stay? Good chance he might not. Why? Because he can be used somewhere else and get more money. This is the problem with Darrelle Revis. He would go places that would pay him the most because of free agency, and that's a whole other conversation. So I'm just telling you guys, just look at the revenue, look at the revenue streams, look at the way they pay these guys now. These hoes ain't loyal. Nobody's loyal. You know what I'm saying? They have to pay them to stay there. A premium. You know what I'm saying? And Darrelle Revis is a good example of, you know, just the complete abandonment of a team and go from one team to another and, so on and so forth until you end up on the Raiders and then you finally end your career, which is probably going to be LaShawn McCoy's deal because he's jumping from team to team to team. And, yeah. So I think Brady's done this year. But if you guys want to talk about it, let's talk about it. It's your boy Tone 202. Good night.